She's been cursed since birth. They whispered, like the words were contagious. On Station Virex, whispers had weight. They stuck to walls. They slipped into vents. They got into food dispensers and made the broth taste like judgment. Everyone knew her, even if nobody knew her name. The girl called her a radiation defect. The Valori called her an omen with skin. The Saffron, who considered breathing through the wrong nostril a felony, filed her under biohazard and laminated the label. And the station's maintenance crew? They just called her Glow. Not to her face. Never to her face. That would require standing close enough to see her eyes, and that required either courage or a lack of self-preservation. Glow walked the corridors like she was always apologizing for taking up oxygen. Hood up, sleeves down, hands tucked in like they were dangerous. Even through fabric, the light found its way out, soft at first, a pale shimmer like a night light left on in a child's room. But when she got nervous, it brightened. When she got embarrassed, it pulsed. When she got angry, rare, but not impossible, it flared bright enough to make the emergency strips dim out of spite. The station had rules for everything. Rules for entering airlocks. Rules for standing in queue. Rules for the correct angle to bow to a ranking officer. Rules for how long you were allowed to look at a superior's crest before it became aggressive-eyed behavior. There were even rules for Glow. Keep a minimum distance of 3 body lengths. Do not touch. Do not offer food directly. Place it down, step back, and allow her to retrieve it without unwanted proximity. If she sits, sanitize the seat. If she stands, sanitize the floor. If she breathes too hard, file a report. They posted warning stickers where she was assigned to work. Caution, unstable bioemission. The stickers had a cute little icon of a person glowing with a skull over their head, because nothing said, welcoming environment, like cheerful graphics of death. Glow endured it. She endured the sideways stares, the exaggerated coughs, the way conversation stopped mid-syllable when she entered a room. The way someone would always find a reason to leave, suddenly remembering a meeting, a task, a spiritual obligation to not die near a glowing woman. She'd been marked since birth, the station medic said. Like she'd arrived into the universe already stamped with do not handle. Of course, humans heard that phrase and thought of different kinds of handled, which is why the human on Station Virex had been told, firmly, repeatedly, and with a lot of anxious antenna fluttering, to stop smiling like that. His name was Milo Hart. Human. Engineer. Mildly underpaid. Professionally exhausted. Milo had the kind of face that suggested he'd once been optimistic and was now living off sarcasm and caffeine. He wore his maintenance badge like it owed him money. He also had the dangerous habit of listening when people talked, an unusual trait in a station where most species communicated primarily through assumption. He first heard the whispers the same way everyone did, while waiting for a nutrient bar that claimed to be chocolate, but tasted like the concept of disappointment. She's too hot, a Saffron muttered. Milo snorted. That's not a curse. That's a hobby. The Saffron stared at him like he'd admitted to licking air filters. You know what I mean, it hissed, cheeks puffing with discomfort. Hot. Unsafe. Unfit for public mingling. She overheats equipment. She contaminates the air. Right, Milo said, nodding slowly. Too hot for public mingling. That's tragic. Somebody alert the romance writers. The Valori behind them shivered and wrapped its cloak tighter. She glows. It is unnatural. It is indecent. Indecent? Milo repeated. Buddy, I've seen your species molt in the cafeteria. If anything's indecent, it's the smell. That is a necessary biological function. So is glowing, apparently, Milo said, and took his nutrient bar like it was a weapon he might have to defend himself with. He didn't mean to get involved. That's the lie everyone tells themselves right before they do something that becomes their whole month. But the next day, the station's rad-shielding monitor hiccuped. Not a full failure, just a flutter. A number that should have held steady jumped. then jumped again. Then settled, like it was pretending it never made a mistake. Everyone else panicked in the official station way, filing forms, requesting approvals, waiting for authorizations. Milo panicked in the human way. He went to look. He followed the maintenance logs to the only corridor that had repeated, weird readings. The only corridor, coincidentally, where the "Caution, unstable bioemission" stickers were fresh. As he walked, the station felt different. Colder. Not temperature, tone. The lighting seemed harsher. The air quieter. Like the corridor itself had learned to hold its breath. 2 security drones hovered near the entrance to a maintenance bay. They weren't armed exactly, but their posture was judgmental. Their sensor arrays tracked Milo like he was about to commit a crime against etiquette. A Saffron supervisor stood nearby with a tablet, looking like it had never laughed in its life. "You are not assigned here," it said. "I'm assigned to the station not falling apart," Milo replied. "This zone is restricted due to contamination risk." Milo looked at the warning sticker. Then at the supervisor. "Is she in there?" The Saffron flinched slightly, like the word "she" could bite. "The marked one is performing assigned labor. Do not disturb. Keep distance." Milo's eyes flicked to the rad monitor readout on the supervisor's tablet. It was doing that flutter again. "Funny," Milo said, pointing. "Your contamination looks more like absorption." The Saffron's throat sacs trembled. "You cannot know that." Milo shrugged. "I can suspect it. I'm a professional." He walked past anyway, because humans have 2 core instincts, curiosity, and the belief that rules are suggestions for other people. Inside the bay, the air smelled like metal and recycled air and overworked filters. Tools hung from magnetic racks. Panels were open. Wiring exposed like veins. And in the center, Glow knelt beside a shielding conduit, hands moving carefully, like every motion had been rehearsed in private so nobody could accuse her of being reckless with her curse. Her hood was up, but the light around her was unmistakable, soft and steady, spilling out around her shoulders, outlining her like the station had drawn her with a highlighter. She noticed him immediately. Everyone noticed humans immediately. Humans had a way of entering a room like they'd paid rent for the atmosphere. Glow froze. The light brightened a fraction. "Don't," she started, voice tight. "Don't come closer." Milo stopped, but not as far back as the signs suggested. "Hey!" Her eyes flicked up. Wide. Wary. The look of someone who'd learned the shape of disappointment before they learned the shape of friendship. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "Probably," Milo admitted. "But I saw the monitor readings. They're weird. And everyone keeps talking about you like you're a bomb with feelings." Her glow pulsed once, sharp. "I didn't ask to be this." "I know." Milo held up both hands, palms open, non-threatening. "I'm not here to blame you. I'm here because, honestly, the station's acting like you're leaking radiation, but the numbers spike when you're nearby and then they drop fast. Like something's pulling it out of the air." Glow's mouth tightened. "They say I make things unsafe." "They say a lot of things," Milo said. "They also say humans will eat anything and mate with any species and solve problems by violence and duct tape." Glow blinked, confused despite herself. Milo leaned in slightly, not close, but closer than anyone else ever chose to be. "For the record," he added, voice lowering with a grin that was definitely not helping his reputation, "only 2 of those are true." Glow's glow flared, then, unexpectedly, dimmed. Like she tried not to laugh and her body didn't know how to handle it. "You're not afraid," she said, like it was an accusation. Milo stared at her shimmering outline, at the way the light didn't behave like a warning, but like a shield. He saw a person, not a hazard label. A woman who'd spent her whole life being treated like a problem. He swallowed the easy joke that rose to the surface, because he could feel the weight of this moment. Still, his voice stayed warm, bold, human. "Afraid?" he said. "No. I'm just thinking." Glow's eyes narrowed. "Thinking what?" Milo looked at the conduit, at the readings on his handheld scanner, at the way the ambient radiation count dipped where her hands moved. Then he looked back at her and said honestly, with the kind of grin humans used right before they did something either brilliant or stupid, "I think everyone's been calling you cursed because they don't understand what they're looking at." Her light flickered, uncertain. "And I think," Milo added, stepping one fraction closer while the drones outside surely screamed in silence, "that what I'm looking at isn't a curse at all." Glow's breath caught. Milo's scanner chirped, soft, eager, confirming what his instincts already knew. The radiation count dropped again. Right around her. Like she wasn't the danger. Like she was the solution. Milo didn't touch her. Not because he was afraid, but because she looked like someone who'd learned to expect contact only when it came with consequences. Instead, he crouched a comfortable distance away and held his scanner out like an offering. "Can I?" he asked. Glow stared at the scanner like it might accuse her of something. "What is that?" "Proof," Milo said. "Or at least the kind of proof that gets people to stop treating you like a walking warning label." Her glow pulsed, faint and uneasy. "They won't stop." "They might," Milo said. "And if they don't, I'm happy to start printing the stickers in reverse. You know, caution, station may experience unexpected survival around this woman." That pulled a small sound out of her, half laugh, half disbelief. The light around her dimmed a notch, like her body relaxed when her mind didn't. Milo's eyes flicked to the conduit she was working on. "You've been assigned to rad shielding maintenance?" Glow nodded once. "Because if I break, they can blame it on me. If it fails, they can blame it on me. If I glow too much, they can file it as negligence." "Ah," Milo said deadpan. "Classic management strategy. If you don't know what something does, make it responsible for everything." Glow's gaze sharpened. "You talk like you've been here a while." "I've been here long enough to know the station runs on panic and paperwork," Milo said. "Humans call that normal employment." He turned the scanner on. The display hummed to life, numbers scrolling. Ambient radiation levels. Microbursts. Residual leakage from the outer plates. Nothing dramatic. Station Virex wasn't about to explode. It was just leaking, the way old things leak. Heat. Air. Dignity. Milo angled the scanner toward Glow's hands. The numbers dipped. Not subtly. Not. Could be noise. It dipped like something had reached into the air and grabbed the radiation by the throat. Glow's eyes widened. It always does that near me." "You've noticed?" Milo asked. She looked away. "I notice everything near me. People blame me for it." Milo clicked his tongue. "Okay. Let's do this the boring way so nobody can argue with it." He shifted the scanner away from her. The numbers rose. He brought it back near her. The numbers dropped. He did it again. And again. Because sometimes you had to beat the universe over the head with the obvious before it agreed to be acknowledged. Glow watched, breath shallow. Like she wanted to believe it but couldn't afford to. "You're not emitting," Milo said, voice quieter now, less joking. "You're absorbing." Glow's face tightened. "That's not possible." Milo shrugged. "I've seen a human eat gas station sushi and survive. I stopped using possible as a rule a long time ago." Glow stared at him, then at her hands. "They told my mother I was defective. They told mine I was defective too," Milo said. "She just called it being a boy." Glow's glow flickered, annoyed and amused at the same time. "You always joke." "Yeah," Milo said. "It's either that or start screaming into vents, and the station already has enough weird noises." He leaned back a little and exhaled slowly, switching into engineer mode. "Your body's doing something with ionizing radiation. Not reflecting it. Not rerouting it. It's taking it in." Glow swallowed. "That's why I'm tired all the time." Milo nodded once. "Like being everyone's filter." Her glow brightened at that phrase, sharp and embarrassed. Milo noticed and grinned. "Sorry. Bad wording." Glow's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Milo coughed. Nothing. I mean, scientifically. Filter. Like a air filter. Station safety. Very wholesome. Glow's glow pulsed again, like her body didn't care what he intended. They already make jokes. Yeah? Milo said, tone shifting to dry. Let me guess. Too hot to handle. Glows in the dark. Don't get too close or you'll regret it. Glow's jaw clenched. They call me hazardous. They say I ruin equipment. They say I'm unsafe to sit with. Milo raised his brows. Unsafe to sit with? That's wow. That's not even subtle. Glow stared at him. What does that mean in your culture? Milo opened his mouth, then closed it again, because he had survival instincts after all. It means, he said carefully, that they have the emotional maturity of rust. Glow studied him. You're not like them. No, Milo agreed. Humans are worse in different ways. She huffed a laugh, quick. The glow softened. Milo looked at her again, really looked. Not at the light, but at her posture. The way she held herself like she was bracing for impact that never stopped coming. The way she spoke as if every sentence might be used against her. What's your name? He asked. Glow hesitated. Don't use it here. That bad? Milo asked. She nodded once. Milo frowned, then lifted his scanner again. Okay. Then I'm going to call you something else. Something you can choose. Glow blinked. Like what? Milo glanced at her. Glow. Well, Glow is what they call you when they're being lazy. Her eyes hardened. And, Milo added, I'm lazy too, but I'm also charming. So we'll upgrade it. Glow waited, suspicious. Milo snapped his fingers. Lux. She frowned. That's a word? Latin, Milo said. Means light. Also sounds like a fancy brand of shampoo, which is a strong vibe. Glow stared at him for a long moment, then said quietly, Lux. It sounded different when she said it. Less like a label. More like a name. Milo smiled. Cool. Lux, your curse might be the reason this station hasn't cooked itself slowly over the last decade. Lux looked down at her hands. If that's true, why do I feel like I'm dying when storms hit? Milo's smile faded. Because you're absorbing radiation. Your body's doing work shielding normally does. And if the station's leaking, you've been taking the hits. Lux's throat tightened. So I am dangerous. Milo shook his head. No. You're the opposite. You're a safety feature the universe forgot to document. Lux stared at him, eyes shiny with something she didn't know what to do with. Hope was dangerous. People who'd been denied it didn't trust it. A faint buzz echoed outside. The security drones were shifting. Somebody had noticed Milo's unauthorized proximity to the station's favorite scapegoat. Lux stiffened. You need to leave. Yeah, Milo said, glancing toward the bay entrance. But first I need to show someone this. You can't, Lux whispered. They won't listen. They never do. They'll just quarantine me harder. Milo's jaw tightened. Then we don't ask permission. Lux blinked. What? Milo tapped the scanner. The station's rad monitor is built for standard fluctuations. Your presence makes it look like a glitch. If I can log this properly, if I can show cause and effect, they'll have to update the diagnosis. Lux's light flickered. They don't like changing diagnoses. It makes them look wrong. Right, Milo said. Which is why we'll make it look like it was their idea. Lux stared at him like he just confessed to a crime. Milo grinned. Welcome to human problem solving. Step 1, identify problem. Step 2, ignore authority. Step 3, fix problem anyway. Lux's lips twitched. That's reckless. Thanks, Milo said. It's a cultural strength. The drones floated closer. The Saffron supervisor's voice carried in, sharp. Human engineer! You are in violation of quarantine protocol. Milo stood and called back. You're welcome. Lux grabbed his sleeve, panic flashing. The glow flared. Milo! He looked at her hand on his sleeve. She froze as if she'd committed a sin. Milo didn't pull away. He just glanced at her hand, then up at her. It's okay. Lux swallowed hard and let go quickly, as if afraid she'd burn him. Milo checked his own scanner, then flicked a small dosimeter on his belt. It blinked normal. He lifted his brows at her. See? Not dead. Lux stared. Why aren't you afraid? Milo's expression softened. Because I've seen what fear does to people. It turns them into whispers. The Saffron supervisor entered, body tense, tablet raised like a weapon. Behind it, 2 station medics hovered with sealed suits, overly dramatic. Step away from the contaminated individual, the Saffron snapped. Milo angled his body slightly in front of Lux, subtle, but deliberate. She's not contaminated, Milo said. She is marked, the Saffron hissed. Her body produces unstable emissions. Our reports. Your reports are wrong, Milo cut in. She absorbs radiation. She's not the leak. She's the plug. The Saffron's throat sacs fluttered with outrage. That is impossible. Milo held up the scanner. Here's the data. The medic leaned closer to look, then recoiled like proximity alone was scandalous. Data can be misread. Yeah, Milo said. So can people. Lux's glow trembled, brightening with stress. The air around her shimmered. The station alarms chose that moment to chirp, one sharp, attention-grabbing note that silenced every voice. A warning flashed across the supervisor's tablet. Radiation event, outer plate disturbance. Shielding integrity, fluctuating. The Saffron's face went pale under its scales. Milo's eyes snapped to the readout, mind racing. Lux whispered, barely audible. Storm. The alarms chirped again, louder now, and the corridor lights flickered like the station itself had just realized today might be the day it died. Milo looked at Lux, at the way her glow intensified in response, like her body was already preparing to take the hit. Then he looked back at the terrified aliens, and his voice turned brisk, certain, and very human. Okay, he said. You want to keep the station alive? Stop treating her like the problem. He pointed at Lux, at the light they feared. You're looking at your solution. The alarms didn't scream. They wailed like the station itself was offended by what space had decided to throw at it. Radiation warnings stacked across the corridor displays, each one more dramatic than the last. The Saffron supervisor made a thin, strangled sound and began shouting orders that overlapped each other, none of them useful. Seal the bay. Evacuate the lower ring. Request emergency authorization. The medics hovered, hands shaking inside sealed gloves, already sweating inside suits that promised safety but mostly delivered panic. Lux stood perfectly still. Her glow deepened, richer now, the soft light sharpening into something brighter, denser, like the station had turned a spotlight on her without asking permission. The air around her felt warmer, not hot, but charged, like the moment before static bit you. Milo took one look at the rad readouts and swore under his breath. That's a breach pattern. The Saffron rounded on him. Do not speculate. This is a controlled incident. Milo snorted. Yeah, and I'm a controlled substance. The warning chirped again. Outer shielding integrity dropping. Radiation flooding in uneven waves, like the storm was testing the station's weak points. Lux's breathing went shallow. When it hits, the corridors near the outer plates will spike. They always do. Milo's eyes flicked between her and the readings. And you're always nearby when the numbers drop. Lux swallowed. I can stand closer. It helps. A little. The medics hissed in horror. Absolutely not. Increased exposure will destabilize her condition. Milo turned to them, jaw tight. Her condition is the only thing between us and glowing skeleton cosplay right now. Lux's glow flared, nervous. Milo, I don't want to make it worse. You won't, Milo said. You've been doing this your whole life without anyone giving you credit for it. The Saffron supervisor's crest flattened. You are proposing to use the contaminated individual as a radiation sink. First of all, Milo said, she's not contaminated. She's compatible. Second, I'm proposing we stop pretending the station's shields are enough on their own. Lux looked at him. You can't order me to do this. Milo met her eyes. I'm not ordering you. I'm asking. Her glow wavered. If I go closer to the breach, it hurts. Milo nodded. I know. And I'm not going to lie to you about that. But I'm also not going to let them keep calling you a hazard when you're the only one here built to take the hit. Lux's fingers curled at her sides. Built to take hits? She echoed, voice thin. Milo's mouth tilted into a grim half-smile. Yeah. Humans respect that. Another alarm tone cut through them. The station lights dimmed for half a second, like the power grid flinched. The Saffron supervisor looked around at the panicking crew. We must evacuate the affected ring. Too slow, Milo said. By the time you get clearance, the storm will have already kissed the shielding goodbye. Lux took a shaky breath. If I go now, I can pull some of it out of the air. I always can. It's just more this time. Milo stepped closer, not into her space, but into her line of sight. Lux, look at me. She did. You've been taking this alone for years, he said. Not because you had to. Because nobody gave you a choice. This time you have one. Lux's glow softened, then steadied. And if I choose to help? Milo's voice dropped. Then you're not the curse they made you out to be. You're the reason this place gets to keep pretending it's safe. The corridor shook. Not violently, just enough to remind everyone that space didn't care about protocols. Lux closed her eyes for a heartbeat. When she opened them, the light around her sharpened with resolve. Show me where, she said. The Saffron supervisor recoiled. This is madness. Welcome to human emergency planning, Milo said, already pulling up schematics on his wrist display. Okay. The breach is propagating along the outer plate seams. The highest spike will be in the maintenance ring closest to the hull. Lux nodded. That's where it always hurts the most. Milo grimaced. Great. Of course it is. The medics tried to block their path. You are exposing her to lethal levels. Lux stopped in front of them. For the first time, she didn't shrink back. The glow around her brightened, not threatening, just undeniable. I've been exposed to lethal levels my whole life, she said quietly. You just never noticed because I didn't die. The medics faltered, stunned by the simplicity of it. They moved through the corridors fast. Too fast for comfort. The station's emergency lights washed everything in pulsing red, making Lux's glow look almost defiant in contrast, cool light against warning glare. Crew members pressed themselves into alcoves as they passed, eyes wide. Some whispered. Some stared. Some looked away like witnessing this was somehow indecent. Is that the hazard? Someone murmured. Why is the human walking next to her? Are they insane? Milo shot them a look. Yes. Mind your business. The radiation count climbed as they neared the outer maintenance ring. Milo's dosimeter chirped once, then again, registering spikes that made his teeth itch in that imaginary way humans had when numbers look scary. Lux winced, glow flaring brighter. It's strong. Milo slowed. We can stop. She shook her head. No. If I don't step into it, it spreads. He cursed softly. You really are the station's worst-kept secret. Lux managed a thin smile. You're the first one to call me a secret. They reached the maintenance ring. The outer plates hummed with stress, the metal singing that low, unhappy note that meant physics was being pushed past its comfort zone. The air shimmered faintly, like heat waves you could almost see. Lux stepped forward. The radiation spike on Milo's scanner plunged. Not gradually. Not politely. It dropped like something had opened a drain in the air itself. Milo's breath caught. Holy! Lux gasped, shoulders tensing as if she'd walked into freezing water. The glow around her surged, bright enough to paint the walls in soft light. She pressed her palms to the outer plate, jaw clenched. The medics cried out from behind. "She's overloading!" Milo ignored them. His eyes were on the readings. The station's rad monitors were stabilizing, numbers dropping across multiple sectors. "You're doing it," he said, voice fierce with relief. "You're pulling it out." Lux's voice shook. "It's heavy." "I know," Milo said. "Just breathe. Pretend it's bad air and you're the filter." Her glow pulsed at the word, embarrassed even now. "You and your metaphors." "Hey," Milo said, forcing a grin. "You started it by being good at handling exposure." Lux let out a breath that might have been a laugh if it wasn't wrapped in pain. The outer plate thrummed again, then settled. The storm outside raged on, but the numbers inside the station steadied. The alarms softened, shifting from panic tones to controlled alerts. Crew members stared at the displays in disbelief. The Saffron supervisor's tablet nearly slipped from its grip. "The radiation levels, they are stabilizing," it whispered. Milo glanced back at the supervisor. "Yeah. Turns out your hazard is the only thing keeping your paperwork from becoming a memorial." Lux sagged slightly, knees trembling. Milo stepped closer, ready to catch her if she fell, careful not to touch unless she asked. She stayed upright, breathing hard, glow still bright but steady now. "I can keep it contained," she said. "For a while." Milo's jaw clenched. "We're not making you do this alone." The Saffron supervisor hesitated, then gestured sharply. "Reinforce the shields in this sector. Redirect auxiliary power. Now." Crew scrambled, suddenly efficient now that the universe had forced their hand. Lux looked back at the watching aliens, at the fear slowly turning into something else, confusion, awe, the uncomfortable realization that they might have been wrong. "They're staring," she murmured. Milo snorted. "Yeah. Happens when your worldview breaks." Lux's glow softened a fraction. "I don't want them to be afraid of me anymore." Milo's voice dropped earnest. "Then don't let them keep calling you a curse." Another wave of radiation brushed the outer plate. Lux braced, glow flaring again, and the numbers dipped in response. Milo watched the data dance, watched her stand where no one else could, and felt that familiar human mix of pride and anger twist in his chest. Pride that someone like Lux existed. Anger that she'd been made to suffer for it. He looked at the gathered crew, voice carrying over the hum of strained metal. "Look at her," he said. "She's not ruining your station. She's saving it. If you're going to keep whispering about her, start whispering the right thing." Lux's eyes flicked to him, startled. Milo met her gaze and softened his tone. "You're not cursed, Lux. You're built different. And right now, that's the only reason we're not all glowing for the wrong reasons." Lux swallowed, the light around her steady and strong as the storm pressed on. For the first time in her life, the station leaned on her, and she didn't feel like a mistake for holding it up. The storm didn't stop just because the station finally learned how to ask for help. It pressed against the outer plates in slow, angry waves, like the universe knocking to see who would answer. Inside, the radiation levels held steady, low enough to breathe without tasting metal, high enough to remind everyone this wasn't normal. Lux stood at the breach point, glow steady but dimmer now, like a fire that had learned to burn without roaring. Her breathing was controlled, but her shoulders sagged with the kind of tire that went past muscles and settled into bone. Milo watched the readings flicker, then stabilize again. The station's systems finally adapted, shields rerouted, auxiliary power humming, algorithms recalibrated in ways they never bothered to try before. Funny how close to disaster you had to get before people discovered flexibility. The Saffron supervisor approached slowly, posture no longer rigid with authority but awkward with something dangerously close to humility. "The station's models have been updated," it said. "Your presence correlates with a measurable reduction in ambient radiation. Our prior classification of your condition was inaccurate." Lux didn't look up. "You called me unstable." The Saffron's crest flattened. Our language was insufficiently precise. Milo snorted. Buddy, your language was rude. The saffron hesitated, then inclined its head. Yes. Lux blinked at that. Real apologies were rare on Station Virex. They didn't fit neatly into forms. The medics hovered nearby, no longer hiding behind sealed suits. One of them stepped forward, voice careful. Your physiology appears to convert ionizing radiation into harmless bioluminescent discharge. The glow is excess energy being released. Lux looked at her hands, the soft light tracing her fingers. So I'm not leaking danger? No, the medic admitted. You're bleeding safety. Lux's glow pulsed at the phrase, embarrassed and faintly amused. That sounds worse. Milo grinned. Yeah, that one needs a rewrite. A technician jogged up, breathless. Shielding integrity is holding. We can maintain this configuration. With adjustments. The saffron supervisor nodded stiffly. Then implement them. Immediately. Orders rippled outward, efficient now that denial had lost its grip. The station adapted, patching weak points, reinforcing old assumptions with new data. It wasn't perfect, but it was alive. Lux swayed slightly. Milo stepped closer, ready if she fell. I'm okay, she said, even as her knees argued. You're allowed to not be okay, Milo replied. Saving a space station is cardio. She huffed a quiet laugh, glow dimming as the worst of the storm's pressure eased. You humans joke about everything. Not everything, Milo said. Just the stuff that scares us. Lux glanced at the gathered crew. Some stared openly now, curiosity overtaking fear. Others looked embarrassed, as if realizing they'd spent years whispering about someone who'd been quietly keeping them safe. They won't forget what I am, Lux said. Milo tilted his head. Good. But maybe they'll finally learn what that actually means. The saffron supervisor cleared its throat sacs. Your designation will be revised. You will no longer be labeled hazardous. Your condition will be classified as a protective anomaly. Lux winced. That still sounds like a problem in a lab report. Milo shrugged. Baby steps. Bureaucracy learns to walk after it learns to trip. The supervisor hesitated, then added, The station would like to request your continued assistance during high radiation events. With compensation. Lux stared. You want to pay me for being myself? Milo's smile turned sharp. Careful. That's how unions start. The saffron looked alarmed. We will review compensation structures. Lux let out a slow breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. The glow around her settled into a softer halo, like her body finally believed the danger had passed. A Valori crew member stepped forward, awkward. I am sorry for calling you indecent. Lux blinked. You did what? The Valori flushed a deeper shade. Your glow. I said it was improper. Lux's mouth twitched. It's literally how I don't die. Milo leaned in, stage whispering. In fairness, some cultures think showing ankles is indecent. The universe has issues. A few nervous chuckles rippled through the crowd. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was the first crack in a wall built of fear. Lux shifted her weight, testing her legs. The storm's fading. Milo checked the readings. Yeah. The shields are actually holding now. Turns out when you stop pretending problems don't exist, solutions get easier. Lux looked at him, expression softer. You're strange. Professionally, Milo agreed. She hesitated, then did something small and enormous at the same time. She stepped out from the breach point and into the open corridor, where the warning stickers used to be. No alarms blared. No medics lunged for containment protocols. The station didn't flinch. Crew members watched her stand there, unshielded, uncontained, just present. Lux lifted her hands slightly, the glow tracing her palms. This is the first time I've stood in public without someone telling me to move. Milo felt something tight in his chest loosen. You look good out here. Her glow pulsed. That's not appropriate. Sorry, Milo said, grinning. You look less like you're apologizing for existing. Lux smiled properly this time. It changed her whole face. The Saffron supervisor observed them, then spoke carefully. The term cursed will be removed from official records. Lux's smile faltered. It won't remove it from people's mouths. No, the supervisor admitted. But data has a way of changing language over time. Milo nodded. So do examples. Lux looked around at the station she'd been quietly protecting for years. I don't want to be a symbol. Milo met her gaze. Then don't be. Just be Lux. Let them adjust. She considered that. Humans are very casual about being different. We had practice, Milo said. Earth is basically a training montage. Lux laughed, then winced as the last echoes of the storm rolled through her. Milo instinctively offered an arm. She hesitated, old habits tugging her back, then took it. The contact was brief, careful. The dosimeter on Milo's belt blinked normal. No danger. No curse. A few crew members noticed. The whispers shifted, not fear now, but surprise. Curiosity. Is it safe to stand near her? Someone murmured. Milo answered without looking back. Always was. Lux's glow dimmed, warm and human in its own way. They'll still see me as marked. Yeah, Milo said. But marked doesn't have to mean avoid. Sometimes it means chosen. Lux rolled the word around in her mind. Chosen by what? Milo shrugged. Evolution. Luck. Bad cosmic timing. Take your pick. She exhaled, the weight of years of whispered labels lifting just enough to make room for something new. The station lights steadied. The emergency alerts faded into normal system hums. Life went on, changed in small but important ways. Lux stood in the corridor, no warning signs at her feet, no suits flinching away. For the first time, she wasn't the station's secret hazard. She was its openly acknowledged shield. And when someone whispered now, it wasn't. She's been cursed since birth. It was, quietly, with a mix of awe and uncomfortable respect. That's the one who kept us alive. Lux heard it, and this time, she didn't flinch.